Too late.
And Tommy, are we ready? Tommy, can you hear me? That may be a song. I'm not
Tommy,
sure.
can you hear me?
Is it a song? Tommy,
Well,
can you hear me?
It's actually a musical, I think.
Oh, I didn't know I was with Norman Lear here. Wow. Wow, Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
Wow. Thanks. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to those home viewing audience. We have all of Lynn Passick's family here from all over the world. They've joined us for this presentation. So, is your mom's name Barbara? Barbara, welcome. You're our special guest, Barbara. Welcome to our board meeting. It's nice to have you, and I'm glad you brought your bodyguard with you. Members of the board, we have one presentation and a couple of other topics, an agenda review, and then we will need an executive session at the conclusion, and there won't be any action taken at the conclusion of that executive session, and I'll give those reasons for it at the appropriate time. Before I introduce Mr. Carell, I do want to welcome back a retired administrator who continues to work every day. Hello, Diane Cody. It's nice to see you. Welcome back. Yeah. I can't believe you retired in 2019. She knew what was going to happen in March of 2020. That's why she retired, because she knew what was coming in March, and she had that foresight. You should have told us all, though, Diane. That was the only thing you didn't do. But welcome back. It's always good to see you. You're welcome. We wanted to spend some time today talking about our early literacy program and plans. And a couple of weeks ago, as you know, every Wednesday, a different school presents to us. And a couple of weeks back, we had Mr. Orfano, 79th Street, Lynn Passick joining him. And really, a really good and thorough job was done explaining what's going on in our early literacy program. We've made some changes. Rick has initiated some changes, I think, for the better. It's really critical that everyone knows that we have invested so much in not only our programs from Head Start on up, in our pre-K 3 and 4, but in our curriculum and in our training. We know that a stronger beginning will make a better completion when kids get to high school. And that's why our belief is to invest so much, not only in, as I said, pre-K and Head Start, but in early literacy. But the real meat and the crux of it is the interaction between teacher and student. And I know Rick will cover this along with his team, but we do have a very prescriptive phonics program that is expected to be taught, and we do have a lot of other supports for kids. So we're fortunate to have Rick, of course, who leads all of this work and does it in an exemplary way. So, Rick, would you take it away?
Certainly. Hello, everyone. As you can see, and Mr. Laurie already alluded to it, we have a presentation tonight that is going to showcase our primary literacy program. And one of the things I'd like to accentuate is how all of the resources that we've been fortunate enough to have recently that you've approved, as far as personnel, other staffing, resources and funds for training, really come together to serve our students. So I'm going to give you a view from the district-wide view, and then we're going to go down to the school view, and that's why our friends from 79th Street are here. So I'm going to introduce, first starting with my office, Kathy Sullivan, who is our RTI and pre-K coordinator. It's been a while since Kathy's been here, but she is still working with me, and we are still plugging along. And we have two co-presenters from 79th Street, Jerry Orfano, the principal, and Lynn Passick, who is our PEP lead teacher, and we'll talk a little bit about what we've done with staffing in that program this year. And we also have a whole cheering section from 79th Street School. So each part of what you're going to learn about works together to make sure that our primary kids, as Mr. Laurie said, exit second grade and make the transition from learning to read to reading to learn. That's really our goal here. So without any further ado, I'm going to give you a little bit of information. Then I'm going to turn it over to Kathy, who will continue to talk about what we do district-wide. And then we're going to have our folks from 79th come up. And they've got a really neat presentation that shows what this looks like and how all this effort pays off during the regular school day for our youngest students. So I've done the introductions. Well, I'll talk a little bit about our primary literacy framework, and then Kathy will talk about some of the pieces of our primary program that I know you've heard before, whether it's through contracts or training or some of the professional development that we talk about, but we'll go over again the role of universal screening, our programming by tiers, student progress monitoring, the importance of parent involvement and parent notification when we're working with students, a little bit more depth about our professional development for staff, and the intervention focus, the PEP program at 79th Street. When we're talking about our primary literacy program, we're really talking about the 3 tiers. And you've heard us talk about that many times. Both there are academic tiers, and we've also been talking very recently about behavioral and social emotional tiers. Back to the academic side. Tier 1 is core instruction that is for all students. Regardless of their subgroup or their abilities, all students receive core instruction. In our district, that means, as far as minutes, 110 minutes per day of reading, writing, and small group differentiated instruction. That can take many forms, but usually daily teachers are doing guided reading groups. They don't see every group every day, but that over the course of the week, students cycle in and out. And then we have 30 minutes per day of phonics and word study. That's tier 1 for all students. Tier 2 is for students who are falling slightly behind based on our universal screener and need an extra boost. So during that time period, which is 40 minutes a day, we have 2 things going on. We have intervention instruction for those students who have fallen behind, those students in Tier 2, but we also provide enrichment and extended practice for students who are in Tier 1. Tier 3 students are those that are having the most difficulty. Because of that, they receive 40 minutes 5 days per week in very small groups. Kathy will talk a little bit about some of the guidelines that we must use when we're servicing students who have very pronounced needs at Tier 3. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy, and she's going to take us through each of those tiers.
Thank you,
Should be
Rick.
good.
Thank you. The core reading program, as Rick said, is the program that all students receive every day. That's delivered from the classroom teacher, and that's the program that has all 5 pillars of reading. Students receive instruction in vocabulary, phonics, phonemic awareness, and comprehension. That's done through a variety of activities using a program that is selected by a committee that consists of teachers, administrators, special educators, and the special education teachers. We looked at what was appropriate for our students based on our population, based on student data, and then decided to go with a program that met the needs of our children. It also includes writing. Writing is connected to the text that's being read. The particular program also has supports for our E&L students, We want to make sure that we meet their needs as well during this classroom time, in addition to the time that they receive with their own ENL teachers beyond this classroom time. Okay. Oh, there we go. After they receive that 3 times a year, we administer a universal screening tool. The tool that we use, you've heard the term, both the acronym and the whole term, the AIMS-WEB, which is Achievement Improvement Monitoring System, and that's administered right when the children come in. Every year, we hit the ground running sooner and sooner, which is our goal. It's administered by our PEP interventionist, and then we do it again as soon as they return from winter break, and again at the end of the year, end of May, beginning of June. We then look at those results, and that's our first indicator that students may be falling behind. We use those results because that's where we compare our children to the students across the country. We're not just looking at other children in the classroom or across our district. We compare that to our national norms. That's based on children take that in grades K through 8, and then we decide how much they're behind. If they're just starting to show a little bit of a gap, maybe that misunderstanding is just showing, they're placed in a Tier 2 group. Tier 2 means they receive additional instruction 3 times a week for 30 minutes a day, delivered by one of our PEP interventionists. In a minute, I'll show you what programs we use for that. We have an entire menu of different programs. Obviously, we wouldn't want to repeat the same instruction. We want to use something different because perhaps what's happening is they're not getting it with the original core instruction. They need maybe a different material, maybe a different way of saying it. Maybe just having a different instructor say it a little bit differently will help close that gap. We then progress monitor them. We want to see if in fact that intervention is working. At the Tier 2 level, progress monitoring is done bi-weekly. We use the probes that align with the universal screening tool, the AIMS-WEB probes. Children who have failed to make any progress, they're still struggling, are placed in a Tier 3 group. At the Tier 3 level, children receive additional services beyond Tier 1 for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's delivered by our PEP interventionist. And again, I'll show you what tools they use in just a minute. All PEP interventionists are trained. They attend training during the summer on our superintendent conference days and our professional development days. They also can be assisted by our literacy coaches upon request. Our new schedule has actually helped teachers have a time to sit together as grade level teams to review student data and maybe come up with some common questions, maybe have the literacy coach come in and help them go over that. They get to look at some common threads between their classrooms. I was at a school today and I talked to teachers who said that they share some of their students during another time in the day because they have that opportunity to say, you know what, my child is on this level, you're teaching this group at that time, why don't you take this child, I'll take your child. So all children are getting their needs met based on the data. So that schedule, increasing that day, has helped teachers as well as then helping children. This is the intervention menu. Again, it's a list of vetted programs that offers a variety of approaches to reading. Not all children learn phonetically. Many of these are Orton-Gillingham based. Orton-Gillingham is highly, highly recommended for struggling readers because it is a multisensory approach to reading. It has years and years of research and science behind it. So the Windsor program, Let's Play Learn, and Level 1, and of course Orton-Gillingham, all three are Orton-Gillingham based. Our core skills program, Foundation, is also Orton-Gillingham based. And then we have programs that are not based on that for those children. We have Failure Free, we have Reading Recovery, we have Literacy Footprints, Waterford, and then children who are just starting to show a misconception or misunderstanding receive a double dose of our core program, Foundation. The second column shows you who is delivering that instruction. And this is the 30 minutes that Mr. Corella referred to when he said that there was another 30 minutes beyond that original 110 minutes of core instruction.
I really like this slide, Kathy, because it shows 9 different menu options for a student who may not be successful. It's not just one size fits all. It would all be tailored to what will work for a child, and it's not just, well, we tried this, it doesn't work, what are we gonna do? There are at least nine different options up here that we can use to intervene if necessary. So I think that's a really good slide and a really good point to make. Thanks.
Sure. And the thing with this also is that the children are also progress monitored.
Yep.
So that we know if in fact the team decides that perhaps Windsor Learning might be the best option for a child, and they place the child in Windsor Learning and they progress monitor that child, and the child is responding to that intervention, so they keep the child in that group, and the child is then benchmarked again, and we see if that gap begins to close. If through that progress monitoring and the next benchmark, that gap is not closing, we have the ability to change that intervention. If you connect it to a medical situation, if the medicine isn't working, we can change it. We can change our plan. I mentioned that the PEP interventionists are all trained. Obviously, you're fully aware that our teachers are also very highly trained and continue to be trained. Through our summer programs this summer, Rick and I spent numerous hours in the spring working with people to come this summer to train teachers, interventionists, to come and prepare our teachers to hit the ground running with our core program, with intervention programs. We also have included our administrators. Our administrators need to be aware of what's happening in the core program as well as in the PEP program. They need to know what's happening so that they can support it and help out as well. This year, our biggest training endeavor is with 3 of our lead PEP teachers. We have gone back to how we started with foundations many years ago. We had the core people from Wilson Language come and provide coaching to our teachers. We're doing that again. However, this year we took it up a notch, and we actually are having 3. One is right behind me. You'll hear from her in a minute. They are being trained, which means they're doing a lot of additional work to become facilitators certified by Wilson Language so that we can sustain the training and the growth so that our district can continue to have highly trained key people to turnkey that information beyond school year 23-24. It will go into next year and after. And they will continue to have to report to Wilson Language to keep their certification. Very similar to reading recovery. They'll be doing outside work as well as being videotaped in classrooms, working with the Wilson Language Specialist classrooms. They'll be doing not only the work at our demonstration sites, but in their home schools. All teachers across the district will be supported. It's a district-wide improvement program. Did you have a question, Mr. Pareto?
So to certify our teachers in the PEP, we've been going to BOCES, or what have we been doing?
To train?
Yeah.
Our PEP interventionist has previously been trained through coaching, through daily trainings. To certify them, we've put them through reading recovery training or Orton Gillingham training. Those trainings have full certifications. This is the first time we've actually embarked on foundation certification, and that's through Wilson Language. Any other questions regarding the training or cert? Okay. I think I already went through that. They will have the role of the district facilitators, and I mentioned part of this is the elementary administrators being involved in training as well. One thing we want to make sure we do, obviously this is one way that we help our parents and the community be aware of what we're doing in our classrooms, especially with reading. But we want to make sure that everybody knows where and how to get information regarding reading and how to reach out to teachers. Many people want to know what they can do, how they can find information. This list is a way that many parents find out what's happening in the classroom. We would hope that the lines of communication would always be open. In today's world, a lot of text messaging happens between families and teachers, but obviously other ways listed are just as effective. The goal is to always feel comfortable and confident reaching out to the classroom teacher, because they're more than willing to help explain what they're doing and explain any reports or things that come home. If their child comes home and says, I did this assessment today, or I took this test today, teachers are very willing to explain what that is and why that was administered. Any questions?
You shared this at the district parent committee meeting as well, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Or you and Mr. Villardo presented that night, didn't you?
Yes, he was my co-presenter.
Yes, he was.
He got the night off tonight.
Yeah.
I did, though, yes. So now, as you see the whole district view, you can see it in action at 79th. The restructuring just started in September, but you can see how busy they've been based on the next part of the presentation.
79th Street.
Did I get that sewer named after me?
Yes, that's where, there's a sewer named after Mr. Pareto by the school, right?
Sewer?
Yes, that's a long
didn't know
story.
that.
It's a long story. It's
they
a
come
long
working in
story.
front.
Let's stay with PEP. Let's stay with
And
PEP.
hit the water line, too.
Let's
Oh.
stay with PEP. Okay, Jerry, go ahead,
Okay,
take it away.
good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. I want to thank everyone's support. Just in the 3 short months we've been in school, we've seen a huge drastic change in this PEP program. Lynn Pasick is our lead interventionist. She's one of the reasons why we've had such success at our school. And behind us are some of the, we have teachers, and I know everyone knows Diane's here. But we really appreciate everything you've done for us, and it's showing in the results. That's what we like the most. So, do I do it? Okay. So our PEP interventionists service kindergarten through 4th grade. They're 35-minute blocks. They provide support to intermediate classroom ELA blocks as well. That's extra time in the schedule, so they're able to push in and help during the block time. One of the things that they do, which Lynn and I talked about, is not every student needs that Tier 2 and Tier 3 support. So the good thing is that our interventionists can provide the students in Tier 1 extra support in the ELA, doing readers theater, they do novel studies, just extra activities that enhance and enrich their learning. Here's a sample of an interventionist schedule. It's very busy. There's a lot of movement throughout the day, throughout the week. Math is done 2 days a week. ELA is 3 days a week. When students shift to Tier 3, it's been mentioned that Tier 3 students will shift to 5 days a week. So our schedules, after the January benchmark, which is coming up next month, students will be shifting to Tier 3.
I just want to be clear, that's for intervention. That's not, the 2 and the 3 are, that's for the intervention blocks.
Right,
Okay.
right, the intervention blocks.
I just want to make sure it's
35-minute
clear.
blocks of time, right, okay. So that's a typical schedule throughout the week. Here's an example of progress monitoring. Now, the students have to be progress monitored using AIMSweb. Did you want to talk about what AIMSweb is? I'm not sure.
The students that were in Tier 2 or Tier 3, they have goals set for them. So this is an example of a goal sheet that the teacher fills out. So the probe is the oral reading fluency. The score, that was their benchmark score in the fall. Then the 104 was their goal. And so the teacher, after they progress monitor them or the interventionist, they're keeping track of their words per minute. So this top student went from 91 words to 81 words to 102 words to 74 words. So the student, this is the teacher's sheet, and then on the next slide, the student also is keeping track of their goal setting. So they're keeping a graph to show their progress, and the students get real excited about when it's time for progress monitoring, because they know like they're trying to beat their score from the last time, and then they graph it themselves so they can see their progress.
What's good about this is that the kids see their growth. You know, there's a purpose to what they're doing. So it's nice that the teachers can celebrate, the interventionists can celebrate with the kids, and you know, we're seeing progress that we haven't seen in a while, which we're happy about. And you know, these goal setting sheets are nice to share with the kids. That's another example. And they actually—
That's a fourth grade one.
That's a fourth grade, okay. They're actually coloring the bar charts, getting a little math support too. So now what Lynn's gonna go through is, you're gonna actually see pictures and a little bit of video. Some of the people back here are gonna be in the video of what's going on a typical day at 79th Street School.
This first slide is the interventionist pushing in for Tier 2 and doing double dose foundations. So Mrs. Stromberg on the left is the interventionist, and then Mrs. LaRock on the right is the teacher. So they're doing it simultaneously in small groups together, because Tier 2 is a push-in model. So the interventionists push into the classroom and work along with the teacher. We also have time in our schedule for, we call it push-in also, and this is a slide of me going into a third grade classroom and helping the teacher do literacy footprints guided reading. The middle slide is an interventionist doing double dose as well, and then the third slide is students in a guided reading group. Mrs. D'Antonoli on the left is also pushing in and doing literacy footprints. She was formerly a reading recovery teacher, and she's retired, so she's been trained in the program, so she uses that time to go in and help the teacher with guided reading. The middle slide is me in a kindergarten class doing double dose foundations, and the students are doing the drill sounds where they look at the letter, picture, and sound, and they echo the teacher. And the third slide is a student reading. This is fourth grade. The first two slides are their fourth grade intervention is doing corrective reading. So that's a student doing corrective reading, and the middle slide is a teacher modeling the corrective reading and teaching the corrective reading for the intervention time. The third slide is a retired teacher. He was filling in for one of the interventionists, and that was a Tier 1 enrichment program, and he's doing a novel study, Winn-Dixie, with the students. This slide is kindergarten again. They're doing double dose foundations with the teacher. The middle slide is the interventionist providing the double dose instruction. And then students in K-2 are doing Smarty Ants, the computer program that is for Tier 1 students. And then the last slide is a student doing corrective reading. These are pictures of teachers' rooms with the foundation area and the foundation setup. The third slide is an interventionist doing double dose. When the students do the Smarty Ants, we recognize them and give them the Smarty Ants Awards. So teachers are hanging them on their doors, and then we also pass out Smarties to them as an incentive to keep going. Where's the play button? Is there a play button for that? That first one's a video.
Yeah. Say it. Good. Yeah. Listen to the last sound. It. The last sound is t. Say it. Excellent.
This was Mrs. Padula doing corrective reading with her Tier 2 students inside the classroom. This one's also a play button, I think. So in that video, the students in kindergarten had moved from me saying it and they repeating to me just showing them the card, and they're saying the whole drill sound themselves now. And that last slide is me doing the vowel extension poster with them, which is another part of foundations. You don't have to play the whole thing, it's long, but this is, since the first pictures we've taken, that was back in like beginning of October. This was last week. They're now, kindergartners in Tier 2 are now being the drill sound leaders. And so she's saying all the drill sounds and they're repeating her.
J jug J jug J K kike L lamp O M man N.
So that's just showing like how much progress they've made since the beginning. That's it.
Wow. Did she get Schedule B for that? No. I think it's really important to just stress a couple of things here. First of all, Maria, you are up for a Best Supporting Actress for that Tier 2 movie that you were just in. You're welcome. Secondly, I just want to emphasize a couple of things that I think that we should know. There's no substitute for a good Tier 1 instruction. Tier 1 instruction is where it's at. We have got to make sure that our Tier 1, now that you know the tiers, are where it's at. In the event that kids need Tier 2 and Tier 3, they've demonstrated that we have a menu of options that kids can go to make sure that something will work for them to be successful. Thirdly, this is a pretty good photo. I like this because you could see, look at this classroom. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different groups going on here. There are probably four or five centers of activity going on where kids are working at their own level. Next, that doesn't happen without a lot of planning and collaboration. So I think it was Kathy who alluded to it, but there's a lot of collaboration that has to take place during those team meetings and a lot of planning that needs to happen in order to be prepared to carry this out. So that's something that I wanted to articulate. Finally, we expect this to be done with the fidelity that you're seeing in this school, in these pictures and photos. These kids will be successful, if not with a good Tier 1 intervention, by getting help in Tier 2 and Tier 3. So it's really, really quite impressive, and as Jerry pointed out, we're starting to see early signs of good growth. The work has got to continue. We appreciate the work the ability that the board has allowed us to have in terms of interventionists, both at Tier 2, Tier 3, et cetera, and we couldn't do it without all of that support. Our kids need this. This is where our kids are getting their help, and this is where they need it. It's a really good presentation of our early literacy program and our backups in case we need them. I also would like to tell you that I learned something this week. Usually once a month on a Wednesday, Kathy Sullivan will yell at me for something that I've done wrong. Last month I came late to a meeting, and this week I tried to demonstrate skywriting. Is that what it's called? Yes. So there's a technique. I'm sorry, I don't know it. Is it a Tier 1, 2, or 3 technique? It's a Tier 1 technique. It's called skywriting. So I said, what is skywriting? I went like this. Rick. Kathy Sullivan jumped out of her seat, as witnesses will tell you, and yelled, "You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong." That's Kathy. But here's the point I would like to make. Kathy, you could step up and explain this better than I. There is a science I learned to how you skywrite. Come on, I brought the subject up. Finish it off.
As we said, these programs are all selected with a lot of research. A lot of time goes
Right.
into what we
Brain
do to
research.
bring them.
Brain research.
We bring them here after we know that they're good. And the research behind Foundation has proven the connection between body movement and muscle movement to the brain. And I also coordinate pre-K, so the connection to pre-K comes in too. And when you skywrite, your arm has to be straight because the message from your shoulder to your brain is different than your shoulder when it's like this. So if you're going like this with your 2 fingers, go along, come with me, practice. You put your 2 fingers out, and then they have paper with the sky line, plane line, grass line, worm line, and you form your letters accordingly. This shoulder muscle is sending one message to the brain when your arm is straight as opposed to like this. And you want the message from here. This is the muscle brain message. And it's the same in pre-K when they're using the easel and paint. You want them using that big easel instead of always on the paper.
Look, she's holding her shoulder.
Yeah. So I was honestly admonished, and I deserved it. The point isn't, and I'm being a little humorous, but the point is everything is done intentionally.
Yes.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Everything is done with purpose and intention, right down to how you skywrite, because it's all connected to the science of learning and the science of reading and brain research that goes along with it. So
Exactly.
I hope that you got something from this. I know I learned a lot, and I'm really proud of the the way that we're using our resources to do the best things that we can for kids. And I just wanted to thank the team for being here, the interventionist mom, if she's here, and I really want to thank Rick, Jerry, and Kathy for their leadership. You can ask as many questions as you want, Nick.
Kathy, or Jerry or somebody, what's the ratio between the students in Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3?
Well, that varies by school. That varies by school.
So
Can you speak to 79th Street, Jerry, or?
I can. I do happen to have it.
I figured you would.
Yeah. Nick must have rehearsed it with her.
And this is from September fall benchmark.
More interested maybe from, like, start in grade 1 and kindergarten, correct?
From, I have, what I have
What,
with me.
is there more of more students in Tier 1 in grades 2 and 3 than K and 1? Is there progress going that way? That's what I'm trying to see.
Okay, so in kindergarten in September, is that what you're?
Well, no, from, like, if a student started this in kindergarten, he's now in grade 2. So say he was in Tier 2 in kindergarten, is he in Tier 1 in second grade?
Yeah.
The progress,
okay.
that's what.
Yeah, that's.
The higher in grades we go, the less there are in Tier 2 and Tier 3 kids.
Other than currently first grade, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Other than currently first grade, yes. 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 And this is the fall benchmark. So after January, my prediction is that that will change again for the better and drop again. Yeah. Yeah. Because September is always, you know, kids come back from summer. Exactly. Yeah. Any
Thanks.
other questions?
Great job, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to transition to our agenda review. Before we do our agenda review, let's do the agenda review. Cheryl will call on you at that time. Okay. Let's go through our agenda review. This is for our meeting of the 21st.
Oh, they're leaving already?
Yeah. Agenda review doesn't excite them.
Gee.
So, on the 21st, if you go back to that slide, Ray. There's been a change in the order. We're not going to do capital projects on the 21st. Cynthia Jones and myself are going to do the new graduation requirements on this date, and we'll move, because I think it's very important that you hear about them. Okay? Then we'll have a regular board meeting. Remember, that's 2 weeks away. Ray will scroll. First thing I'd like to call your attention to is the elevator bid, the elevator lift and maintenance and repair bid. The lowest responsible bidder is listed in your packet. They are out of Lewiston, New York. Actually, their price is a decrease, if I'm correct, Earl, from the previous year.
That's correct, sir. They are considerably lower than they were, we're happy to say, and they have been an excellent contractor for many years with the district.
So that was competitively bid, and we're asking you to support that. We do have 4 short-term contracts. I'm going to ask, I'll go through these, and then I will ask to add 1 or 2 more, and I'll tell you about them. The first short-term contract is for our trip of the historically black colleges in March, and that is the trip from Landmark Tours. We have Lifelong Yoga. It's an after-school program at Niagara Street. Louise Ferretti is a neuropsychological evaluation provider, and she will be doing an evaluation of a student. And Jessica Tufty is going to do a needs assessment for our Head Start program. That's what that is for. I'm going to ask that prior to the next meeting, we add a short-term contract of $750 for Amplify. This is coming from Mr. Corella. And Rick, that is for training?
It's for professional development on the January superintendent's conference day, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers.
So Amplify is a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teacher, training of $750 for a January conference. It just came up this week, and we want to make sure we get that on there. God bless you. Those are the short-term contracts. Let's move to the new business. And then we'll come back to Maria for the personnel in a second and a policy. So the first two are gifts. The first gift is from the Trinity United Methodist Women. It's a $500 gift for clothing, and that is for the Focus on Families program. The second gift is from our insurance carrier. That's NYSER. NYSER is our property casualty insurance provider. They are giving us, this is really the work of Becky Holliday, they are giving us $1,000. They've heard about our Walk the World celebration that we had last year and that we're planning for the fall, so they'd like to donate $1,000 to that celebration. 603 is for our mentor teacher grant. It's $51,240. 604 is for our universal pre-K grant. That services 500 students. That's $4,357,000. That's quite a big grant. 605 is $17,618 for our English as a New Language program. That's what Title III is. And 606 is $750,000 grant for mental health services. So if you approve these on the 21st, you will be approving above and beyond the general fund budget, $5,175,868 in grants above your general fund budget. So that shows the way we go after grants and the way we're able to secure them. 607 and 608 begins the most wonderful time of the year for Judy Glasser. These are the beginning, Judy, of the resolutions for the May school board budget vote and election. Judy, one sets the timeline and one sets the polling places. Is there anything that else that should be added on these?
Just to note that because the county had done a bit of redistricting, we also need to do that in order to be in line with them. So where the board had passed its polling places originally back in 2014 or something like that, 607 now establishes the correct and new polling places to be in alignment with the county.
Okay. 609 ties up into one of our grants. It's for consultant services for Horizon Healthcare. This will allow us to provide mental health clinic services to Gaskill Prep students specifically. 610. 610 is a revision. 610, a while back, you approved an allocation of money for our special needs students, our teams, and others to use the Ralph Wilson Center. This is to reduce the amount we're paying them from $15,000 to $10,000, but in return, Earl and his team will be doing some plowing on days that it needs to be plowed. So we're almost trading services, but it doesn't equal out quite that way, right? Is that correct, Earl? So they're reducing the amount, and Ralph Wilson Center is right, I'm pointing here, you know, it's behind Cataract. So for that $5,000, Earl's team will plow that facility when necessary. And they have taken $5,000 off of our bill. 611 and 612, you've seen these since 2013, I believe. These are one of them is $30,000 for the Buffalo Federation of Neighborhoods for, did I get ahead of myself? No, for crime prevention services, and the other is to receive $30,000 from the county. I'm looking at you, Nick, because you remember this. It's been going on since 2013. The amount has stayed the same, but it helps us with. There were 3 partners. I remember that, but now it is us and the county. But it's just us in the county now. So we get 30,000, we allocate 30,000, but we get 30,000 back from the county. 613 is for some software that we need for Head Start. This is required software. It comes out of the Head Start budget. It's $6,050 worth of tracking software for our Head Start kids. 614, we need to purchase an additional Evolve lane. We don't currently have one at the CEC. We're using that building more and more. We're putting in a secured vestibule there, and we want to make sure all of our facilities have at least one Evolve lane. So we're asking you to approve us to add one more Evolve lane, which I believe, and I'm sure the chief would attest to, has been very successful. 616 and 617, they are payments for ARP funds for electrical work, CIR, DV Brown, mechanical work. The electrical work is in the sum of $16,957.49, and the mechanical work is $368,220. That money comes out of the ARP allotment that we must spend by September. That is for work at Bond, Kelfis, and they have begun Niagara Falls High School. So that's what, those are payments. Earl and Richard have certified that they've done the work that is being paid for. I want to pause there because I first want to call on Maria to do 2 things. If you'd go back, Ray, to the policies, please. I want to talk about 2 policies that don't appear on here, but I'd like to ask you to entertain them both. And I'm going to ask Maria to talk about the first one along with the personnel report. Would you mind doing that?
The graduation one or the...
No, the workplace violence one.
Am I doing the personnel versus...
I'm going to let that be your call.
We'll do the policy first.
Okay.
So, hello everybody. Good evening. We, in September, the governor signed a modification to the labor law, which was already in effect, which required employers to have a policy and an annual review of workplace violence incidents. So what the governor did in September was she made that section of the law applicable to school districts. Prior to that, it was not applicable to school districts. Now it's applicable to school districts. So one of the first things that we are required to do is have a policy in place regarding your stance against workplace violence and outlining your workplace violence prevention compliance plan. So what we've been doing is we've been working specifically with other school districts in BOCES. I've been on a couple of group chats with some of the administrators for human resources in the other district, and Mr. Laurie, through his superintendent's consortium, we've been working with the BOCES safety risk managers, and they have provided us with a template of a policy that we would like to have in place by January 4th, 2024. So what I asked Mr. Laurie today when he shared some information with me that he received was whether it would be okay with you if we put our policy before you to be adopted at your meeting in 2 weeks. So you would get the policy in the next week, have it to review, you would then not table it, you would waive the tabling and vote on it at your next meeting.
And we could talk about it on the 21st. If there's any questions.
Correct.
Any highlights, anything that's really...
The only thing is we have to have a workplace violence checklist. We have to have the ability to provide training annually to every employee and we have to have the ability annually to receive feedback from our employees, to review the policy, and to review the incidents that take place. And hopefully there are none. But those are the very broad brush particulars of the law as it's going to become applicable to us. And one thing to remember is we're not reinventing the wheel here. We have a district-wide safety plan. We already do annual training. We work with NYSER and we provide a lot of annual safety training. This is just organizing it and following through on it in a different way so that it complies with the new labor law rather than just the SAVE legislation in the New York State education law.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The Violence Act, is it just with employees or with the students involved?
This has to do with employee
Employee and
safety.
employee.
This has to do with employee safety.
but
It's all
employees-
employee safety that even could be safe from students, okay? The safe schools laws are the ones that are applicable to the students,
Okay.
okay?
That would be DASA, right, Maria?
DASA,
DASA.
Vader,
Right, Dignity for All Students Act. That's on the student side.
correct. This is
This is
employee.
person, okay. We will get that to you next week.
Yep.
Read it, and we will leave time before the vote to answer any questions that you may have. I'd prefer if you went through the personnel report now, and then I'm going to ask Ms. Villardo to come up for the second policy. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with the certificated report this evening, please. You're going to see the resignation of a teacher on page 1 of 15. On the second page, you're going to see a regular substitute. You're going to see 3 60-day conversions that are listed there. These are people that have been in those assignments since the beginning of the year and who will be converting before or on your next meeting. You are also seeing several tenure appointments there. These are folks who will be getting tenure in the month of January prior to you having the ability to meet. All of these recommended candidates have met their requirements to receive tenure. We are in the process of receiving their last evaluations, and Mr. Laurie will be recommending them to you after he fully signs off on them. I just wanted you to see their names this evening so that you would have them. There is 1 involuntary transfer, no voluntary transfers, a leave of absence, and then you'll see the rest of the report from page 4 through page 15 is per diem work and Schedule B work. Are there any questions about the certificated report? All right, moving on to the classified report. We have 2 retirements. These are 2 retirements of 2 excellent long-term employees in the Information Services Department. Ray has been planning for their departures, but I would just like to say, and I'm sure Ray would like to add too potentially, we are going to miss these 2 employees very much. They are excellent and they have been part of our district for a combined 60 years between the 2 of them.
And I think Ray has been saying, come on, 1 more year, 1 more month, 1 more hour, 1 more hour, don't go, don't go, don't go. But these 2 people are huge losses to our district, but they've done and served us very, very well. And with great regret, I'd ask you to consider their retirement.
Next up, we have a couple of resignations for you, actually just 1, a promotional appointment of an assistant child care associate. Mr. Laurie has spoken with you about all of the others who are listed here under item number 4. And we have some probationary appointments. You will see probably another 2 probationary appointments at the next meeting with asterisks, and some temporary appointments of a cleaner, a district-wide nurse, and a central office, school office support clerk, leaves of absence, involuntary transfers, and some extra class work on the classified side. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. I don't know if you want to stay. Cheryl, would you like to come up, please, Ms. Villardo? Mr. Rotella, Mr. Ruffalo, you're all welcome. Let me just set a little bit of a stage here for this. I asked Ms. Villardo to come up and begin to talk about a policy that we'd like to put before you. This is one that I wouldn't suggest that we move off the table. I would think that we would leave this on the table for a bit of time because it's a major statement, I think, that we're making. By New York State regulation, we have the ability to alter the compulsory education age for kids. We can move it from 16 to 17. And through many discussions with Ms. Villardo and the team, she's recommending to me that we bring this policy before you for your consideration. And as I said, this is not one that I would ask you to move off the table. I think that needs some information. I think it needs maybe some digestion and some comment from the public if they're listening and they hear this. But it's one that as the principal of the high school, she's recommending, and I agree with her recommendation. And I just would ask you to talk about this change you're recommending and why.
Yes, thank you very much. So currently our compulsory age is 16. What that means is all students need to, by law, be in school until the school year, the year they turn 16, they have to finish that school year. So June 30th of the year in which they turn 16. What we are asking for is to move that to 17, so that the student would be mandated to finish school or to be in school, to be attending for the entire school year in which they turn 17. So if they turn 17 July 2nd, they would be required to, by law, to be a mandated attendee the rest of the year. And the reason we're asking for this is it gives us more time with students. So we know we've been working really hard to increase our graduation rate and to decrease our dropout rate. Currently, if a student is non-compulsory age, as soon as they hit 20 days of consecutive absence, we by law have to drop them. That means that's a point higher of our dropout rate, and it means if the student decides that he wants to come back to school, he has to go through the entire process of registering again. If we were to change this, that gives us, and currently if the required age stayed the same, that means all of our 12th graders are not mandated attendees, they're not compulsory age, and about half of our 11th graders. By increasing the age to 17, that means pretty much every student in the school except about half our senior class would be compulsory. 20 days consecutive sounds like a lot of absences, but we do unfortunately have students who have life circumstances where they go through times where maybe they have to live in Lockport for a month with their family, or whatever's going on in their life. We do find that sometimes these students, actually a lot of times these students may go missing for a while and then they show back up and they want to be educated and they want to receive their diploma. There's been a real shift in increase of attendance rate, and that's why this change is needed now, because the state is really kind of clamping down on making sure that we are dropping kids for 20+ absences. With our current senior class, we have about 20 students who would be, if we raise the age to 17, we'd be able to hang on to throughout this school year, and we think we have a really good chance of at least 5 of them coming back to finish their degree, their diploma, and there's always a chance with those other 15 as well. Are there any questions I can answer?
We hit you pretty fast and hard with that, but we've been talking about it. I want to start the conversation going on this. I'm recommending that we do this. Do you see, I'll put you on, do you see drawbacks? Do you see anything that would?
I really don't. No, I really don't. I think that we've been trying to hang on to these kids as long as we can anyway, and I think that, this just allows us a chance to do it. And there is a mechanism where if a kid isn't attending, it's something new, it's pretty technical, 8300, where they move into kind of a place where they're still part of our district, but they're not counting against our attendance. But the advantage of that is they're an 8300 student and they show back up at our doorstep. They don't have to re-register. We can give them a schedule and continue their education. Yes?
How many other schools have made this change?
That's a good question. I asked today Lockport and NT, and they both are still at 16. we have a chance to be a leader. Yes.
This supersedes the state.
The state law it's 16 unless by local determination to make it 17. It does give the local school boards the authority to raise it to 17.
You have the authority to do this.
Yes.
But other than those two schools?
I have not
you
done
looked
a
into
deep
it?
dive. I can do that for you though in the next couple of weeks and get you that information.
I'm just curious.
I know, it is, it's a good question.
It is a good question.
If passed.
And here's the reason why I ask. I'm sorry, Russ.
No, go ahead.
It's just, if there's an extremely low percentage or none that have done it, we could look at it like we're being forward-thinking and we're going,
Right.
or it could go the opposite way in probably many different directions of why we've been trying to make a change of something that has been happening for years, and there's always attendance issues. And
Right.
I'm just curious about,
And so
what it looks like.
I talked to Dawn Wilkie, who's the Lockport principal, is a good friend of mine, and I asked her why, and she said, we don't find a lot of kids, we find if we don't get them by 16, we never get them. And I said, well, we don't find that. We find kids coming back to us. And really, sometimes 9th and 10th grade, they're in a bad living situation, or they just haven't shown the maturity yet that they need. And I do think this is in a line, and I know Cynthia is going to present in a couple of weeks about the pathways to graduation and the Blue Ribbon Commission, that I think they're looking to not define graduation as only by 4 years now. So that kind of supports that thought that graduation for some kids may be 5 or 6 year long process.
Or 3 years.
Or 3 years, right. I also think of this as an kind of moral, like, they're still kids. They're still 17 years old. That's, they're not legally adults yet. And shouldn't they be required to attend school? So I think about it that way. I think when these laws were developed, it was a very different time and place than what we live in now. Mr.
If it's passed, when does it take effect?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that's a local decision.
We'll get the answer to that. I don't want to answer without researching that.
Okay. No, the reason I'm asking that question, if it's immediate,
Yeah.
then maybe we want to pass it right away.
Yep. Yep. I'll get a clarification. I don't want to answer. I don't know the answer. It's two good questions on the table.
You would get back to us on that. Maybe we want to waive the tabling and start at the first of the year if that's the case.
Yep. Any other questions for Ms. Filardo? Thanks. Before she steps away, I want her to talk about something else that occurred the last 2 days at Niagara Falls High School and then at North Tonawanda High School. As you know, 14 months ago, we had a very serious and sad incident at North Tonawanda. And through the work of Ms. Filardo and many others, including community members, we have had the stamina to keep our relationship growing with North Tonawanda High School and to keep the issue and the want to be better citizens with each other in the forefront. So a very unique thing happened the last 2 days, and I just wanted her to speak about what she observed and what happened.
Yeah, so yesterday we sent about 13 of our high school students between grades 9 through 12 to North Tonawanda High School, and today they sent 12 or 13 kids to us. And what those days were comprised of is a touring of the building, shadowing of students to their classes, team building activities for the students who were involved, and an educational component as well. And as Mr. Laurie said, this is probably the 6th or 7th event we've done with North Tonawanda, but I think we've really found our groove with it now because we've had some consistent kids participating, and I think the chance to see each other's high school, really like these friendships just formed. It was really nice to see where, we paired the kids together both yesterday and today, so they essentially spent 2 days with the student. There was lots of Snapchatting and TikToking and, friendships that would go, and it was really interesting. As we were waiting for the North Tonawanda kids to arrive today, I was talking to our students about what they observed. They said it's much quieter at NT. The kids had to square dance in gym class. They did not like that. They do not want that coming to Niagara Falls High School. Their hallways were very, very long, which I've never been in NT High School, but apparently they have very long hallways. And they have really good paninis at lunch. So that was some of their takeaways.
Did they say anything about the superintendent? You could say it.
They said that the NT superintendent was more lit than Mr. Laurie. I don't know why. They didn't get into details. We're not sure if that's good or bad either.
I don't think it's good, but I'll take it. Kathy Sullivan yells at me. The kids say I'm not lit.
You're not lit, so you need some of those like really.
I'll get by.
flashy,
I'll get by.
Yeah, it was a really, really, really nice opportunity, and Kashara Jordan and Emily Sacco, our two social workers, really kind of planned and led the last 2 days with North Tonawanda, and it was great to see. They ate the pizza we ordered for them. Mrs. Petrozzi helped me with that in about 35 seconds flat. So we had some downtime during lunch, but it wasn't awkward. The kids kind of got in their own little groups and talked. You know, just they're high school kids, and I think they found a lot of common ground. But also like to point out what each other high school had that theirs didn't. We treated them to Starbucks when they got there today, and that was a big hit. So the NT teachers were saying, "Great, we're gonna hear about this one a lot."
Good.
So.
Everything else going okay?
Everything's great, thank you.
Thanks, good.
Yep, thank you all for considering this.
Yep. More information to come on that graduation change? Yep.
A quick question about this North Tonawanda thing.
Go ahead.
If it's all right, how is the when our kids go there for sports, you know what I mean, and they might not be those 12 kids that came to our school, or have we heard anything? Are we still bringing security there? You know, extra security, you know what I mean? Yeah. I just want to know what the update is on it.
I have not heard of any problems. I haven't heard of any issues. We keep our, Mr. Contento is at everywhere. He's at all events. I haven't heard any issues or problems. Doesn't mean that there aren't any. That's the answer to your first question. And the answer to the second question is yes, we continue to send security to not just North Tonawanda, to other places, not to do the job for other schools, but to keep a good eye on our kids, to make sure they're safe and they're acting appropriately. And while we're on the topic, I shouldn't have allowed you to sit down, Ms. Villardo, and maybe you can yell from there, but I want to give the high school credit for something that they instituted last week that I think I mentioned to you. I think it's called Sports Pass. Did you want to, you're better off talking about it than me.
So we've been instituting our eligibility policy, which has been in place for years, but with COVID, we got away from it. So basically, to participate or attend extracurricular events, you have to be passing at least 5 classes and then an 85% attendance rate. And actually, Mr. Contento came up with a great idea. We already use Smart Pass for kids to get passes to the bathroom. So now, in order to come to the games or other events, they have to request a Smart Pass. We review to make sure they're eligible, and then we click accept. And that way, at the door, there's not confusion or any disagreements or very few disagreements. The kid shows their Smart Pass, and we know that they qualify and they're eligible. And some people say it's a little harsh, but honestly, we haven't had so many kids talking about their grades and their attendance in a really, really long time. It's getting their attention because it's something they want to do.
I was at the girls' game, and the kids are getting good. They're showing it. They're walking in with it, and they're flashing it and showing it. And they're
ID and their Smart Pass. We have computers there. The kid doesn't have their phone with them.
right. Speaking of that, last Friday and Saturday, the Cataract Classic was put on by the Niagara Falls Education Foundation to raise money for the scholarships, and I was only able to attend on Saturday and not Friday, but people said that the atmosphere in that gym on Friday was the best they've seen in years. There were, Cynthia, you were there, and you were the one telling me, and the kids were into the game, cheering on their team, having fun. There were families there, there were young people there. It was really something great. Saturday was just as good, and of course it's always nice when the Wolverines win, as they did. And I just wanted to, put in a plug for the Niagara Falls Education Foundation. They do collect at the door, and the money goes to those scholarships that we attended to see in April. So a thank you to the foundation and the Cataract Classic. I'm going to ask Mr. Weiss to join me. Dan, could you come up for a second? I had the pleasure today of attending what turned out to be a dual ceremony. I didn't know about the dualness of this, but today in Syracuse, Dan and I were there for the day, and they were cutting the ribbon, groundbreaking, on a brand-new STEAM high school. It was really nice to see, attended by the governor who spoke, attended by their mayor, their county executive, their school board, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm really proud to tell you that in addition to the schools in Syracuse, Niagara Falls joins Watertown and New York City Brooklyn Steam Center. I think that's the only ones outside of Syracuse. Correct. We are the only 3 schools outside of Syracuse to be recognized with a Micron grant. You know, Micron's going into a city called Clay that's outside of Syracuse, and billions of dollars, billions of jobs, billions of training. But we were selected to be one of the pathway districts. All the Syracuse schools, Watertown, and a school in New York City. Of all 638 school districts, Niagara Falls was one of them. And I'm really proud of that. That came about because of the work of Dan and Niagara Falls teachers. And I really think it also came about because when the state union president, Melinda Pearson, visited our high school, I think that she saw what we were trying to do with our Pathways program and our P-TECH program. And I think she went away impressed, and then Dan hit the lobby button and was able to get this another pathway for us. So I say thank you publicly, and I don't know if you wanted to share anything about what you saw there, other than our sterling conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting, obviously, for the school district to be able to deliver this here for our students. It's a pilot program that is innovative, not only in its partnership with a company that's investing $100 billion in New York State over the next 20 years, which, mind you, is the single largest manufacturing investment ever in the history of the United States. So it's kind of cool to be a part of that. But in addition to that, this program is being developed really with NYSED kind of standing by the side, and they're giving the lead to teachers from those 10 school districts. They're going to be involved in the program, and the engineers at Micron to develop classroom curriculum that's pertinent to the microchip manufacturing business. So you're going to have teachers going and directly working in that process over the summer, having the chance to experience what engineers go through in this ever-evolving process that's become more and more important. I'm sure you've heard of the chip shortages with vehicles. Microchips are in just about everything that we do now: smartphones, cars, computers, you name it, televisions. So you know this is something that is not going away anytime soon, obviously with a $100 billion investment. So it's exciting for us to be a part of that, and I think it's really cool to see something that is going to be teacher-led in development for curriculum in classrooms. I think that's something that's really important, and a recognition of the state and Micron in doing that. So we're excited about it, glad to be able to deliver. We're excited to learn more about it and see how this works out. The cool thing too is after the 3-year pilot program, the intention is for this curriculum that's developed to be utilized across New York State, and the same model for developing curriculum and then expanded on to other places across. It's a larger part of the CHIPS program that was recently passed by President Biden, and an investment into technology manufacturing, things like this for school districts. So.
Thank you, Dan. It was exciting to be a very small speck in a very big announcement across the state today, and anytime Niagara Falls can be involved or recognized, I appreciate it, and thank you for your advocacy in getting it to come here. And I want to personally thank, I'm sure she watches these, Melinda Pearson, who is the NYSED state president, for her remembering her visits to Niagara Falls High School. A couple of other quick things. You saw, we're going to ask you to approve our trip to the historically black colleges. They're going to Atlanta this year. They're going to Morris Brown, Clark, Morehouse, and Spelman. 20 students, what a great opportunity for 20 students to see those colleges from Niagara Falls High School. compliments to the fire department and to our OSC 21 students who televised their telethon last Saturday. They are thankful for our kids and Mr. Strangio, who ran a great telethon, and they raised money that comes right back into the community. In the same vein, I want to congratulate the girls' basketball team. On Tuesday, they had a game, but they had their own toy drive with North Tonawanda, who brought toys, which I thought was another good symbol of friendship. And all of those toys raised by the girls' basketball program are going to students at Abbott. So I thought that was a really nice gesture. I want to wish all of our Jewish friends happy Hanukkah, which I believe begins this evening, and the best of health and our prayers to our friends. But happy Hanukkah to all of you that celebrate. The Nutcracker is at our school at the PAC this weekend, so I know it'll be busy again there. And finally, I'm just checking my notes here. Finally, quite a big week for our president. In 1 week, he has a huge birthday that's been going on for days, and he becomes a grandfather again. So, Grandpa, happy birthday, and congratulations on the birth of another grandchild. Huh? Joe Biden. Oh, not that president. I only recognize one president, Mr. Velardo, and that's the man from Time Cleaners or Balani Cleaners. I don't know where he works. Oh, Capitol Cleaners. Yeah, you thought it was Biden. No, it was Petrosi all the way, Petrosi. Thank you. Board members, that's all we have for this evening. I want to thank the presenters that were here. Thank you for your consideration of those two policies. You will definitely see the workplace violence policy on your agenda, and we'll get the answers that were posed by Mr. Bilson and Mr. Petrosi for you, and a chance to contemplate the raising the age. Those are all the only things I have. We do have a need for an executive session. There are two reasons, and I'd like to, because I know Mr. Wolf and the open meetings law people. Hi, Mr. Wolf. I know you watch, and you want to make sure that I read this very, carefully and make sure that we get this correct. We're asking for, on both cases, there will be no action taken after this. One is for the, with regard to the demotion, discipline, suspension, or removal of a person or persons, and the other one is for a contract that I would like to share with you. Those are the two reasons the contract is protected by the Taylor law. Those are the two reasons for executive session. No action afterwards, and that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mark. Motion by Nick, second by Rob. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Show everyone in favor.